Hello.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing great. So, my friends across the computer, Emily and I are here to talk to you about some books. So, we both are youth librarians. I am at the Gaines Township branch and Kentwood branches. Emily, where are you from?
I am at the Tyrone Township Library, which is way up north.
It is. And what is this weird room that you're in? I feel like
So
there's lots of things behind you. What's
there
going on?
is. This is our historical society, which
Mhm.
is super cool. There's as you can see, there's so much
There's
stuff.
so much stuff.
Yeah. They do a great job up here with their historical society.
Yeah. Whereas I just have a cat reading a book.
But what's better than cats and books?
I know, and sitting on a nice pumpkin. So friends, we are here to talk to you about junior nonfiction. So Emily, can you remind us what is nonfiction?
So nonfiction means that something is true. It's true and real information that you'll find in all of our books today.
Yeah, so these are books that you can read if you want to learn something. And so we have a bunch of books that we're going to share. We're going to go back and forth, and then we have something to tell you about at the end of the video. So you'll have to listen to all of our books to find out what that special information is. So I'm going to start. And the first book that I'm going to talk about is Bruno the Beekeeper, a honey primer, and it's by Annetta Francisca, oh my gosh, Holasova. I'm so sorry that I said that name wrong, but
it's such a beautiful cover.
It's so beautiful. So and shout out to my friend Melissa, who works at our Rockford branch, for telling me about this book. You'll see Melissa and one of our other library friends talking about more junior nonfiction. Emily and I are going to cover the A's through the H's, so the animals through health books. And so this book is actually about farming, so it's about beekeeping. And Bruno is a beekeeper. He's also a bear, so that part might not be 100% true. So bees or bears like honey, but they aren't beekeepers in like a get dressed and have like artificial bee homes, or they just take from the hives. But it goes through what Bruno has to do as a beekeeper. So you learn about the different insects that look kind of like bees. You learn about the different types of bees. So there are worker bees and there's a queen bee. You learn about the life stage of a bee. And of course, how to get the honey. And there's lots of beautiful illustrations, as you can see from the front. And it's just a beautiful book to learn how to be a beekeeper. Now, I don't recommend that you just become a beekeeper on your own. You should probably get some parental help and maybe talk to a professional. But if you're interested in that, I think this would be a great book for you to read.
Courtney, you think that would be a great book for them to read? I'm sorry.
I surely do.
Okay. I do too. I think it'd be very interesting to learn all about it and to see those beautiful pictures. And I think it's so cool that another librarian told you about that. It's fun to get book ideas and recommendations from all of our coworkers and friends and people out who are listening in the audience.
Yeah, I sent Melissa a recommendation for an ocean book because it was under the science category. So we couldn't share it because we aren't doing that part of the alphabet. But Melissa can share it, and she already had it on her desk. So very similar taste. So Emily, what do you have to share?
So similarly to yours, I have a book that is it's part fiction. Because of course gnomes aren't real, but you get a lot of really good nonfiction information in it. So in this book, we follow 3 gnomes and their teacher, Mr. I think it's Butternut, is his name. He's kind of a quirky teacher, and they learn all about soil and gardening and composting in this Maker Comics Grow a Garden. And this comic, or this graphic novel, actually is a part of a series. So they have a lot of these graphic novels where you can learn to fix a car or learn to make a costume and things like that. They kind of span the whole gamut. But this one's really cool because you get a story with it, but then you also get real information and you learn how to make your own compost bin. You learn how to grow your own plants and make your own garden, all while getting this really cute graphic novel with it. I'm going the wrong
I
way.
love it.
Isn't that great? I thought this was really cool because I love graphic novels and I love learning about things. So
For sure.
yeah, these maker
That's
comics.
a good one. That's a good one. I may have to check that out because I told our friend Miss Monica, who works at the East Grand Rapids branch, that I wanted to maybe start a garden next year. I told you about this too.
Yes.
So that might be a good read for me.
Definitely.
But thanks. The next book that I'm going to share is called Freaky Funky Fish. And it's Friday, so it feels appropriate to share a book about freaky funky fish. So the ocean, as we all know, is filled with lots of creatures. We only know like the smallest percent of the creatures that live in our ocean. But there are some really weird fish. I mean, the anglerfish, which I think we all have heard of, it's so bizarre. I mean, it has like a nightlight, a permanent nightlight, just like chilling in front of it. There is a reason, obviously, for that nightlight to see and then to attract prey, which it then eats. There's like the sawfish. There's all sorts of different fish. So it goes through the different fish and it talks about, it shows pictures of them. And it's just the funnest illustrations. So they're kind of like characterized to where they like look like cartoons. So a little less scientific. And then of course on the back we have more. And we have this little puffer fish trying to avoid being eaten by, I want to say that this is like a basking shark, which is one of those like fish that's like a filter feeder where it just like has its mouth open constantly and just like is just eating anything that comes into it. But if you like fish like me and you're really interested in the ocean, this is a fun book. It's not too wordy as well. It's mostly pictures. So I think that's what's really fun is it's mostly pictures, which is really fun to read. You know, it's a quick read, but it's still a read and you're still learning something. You're learning how these fish look, what makes them freaky and funky. And I thought it was a funny title too. So
I am definitely a sucker for good illustrations or images. I always love those, which actually brings me to my next book.
Before you go, I forgot to say this is by Deborah Kempf Shoemaker, and the pictures are by Claire Powell. I forgot to add that. But yes, share your next book.
Yes, so for my next book, this book has some both illustrations that are kind of shiny. And also some actual raccoons. Yeah, like these raccoons over here. Oh, I'm pointing the wrong way. There we go. This book is called Do You Know Where the Animals Live? So it's by Peter Woollyben. I think I'm hopefully saying that right. And he's actually written a number of adult books as well, which I've read some of those. He's very smart. Yeah, and he's got some really great information on here. So if you want to know more about the fish that maybe you find in Courtney's book, this would be a good place to find more information because it has facts on things like, do fish use farts to communicate? Which I honestly wasn't sure about. So you'll have to pick up this book and find that out for yourself. It also talks about like, do animals dream? And if they do, what are they dreaming about? So it covers really just like birds you find in your backyard to puffer fish and everything in between there. It's a really interesting book. And it also gives you like some really cool facts, which I'm going to share one with you. It's actually a little quiz.
I love a quiz.
We have these birds. Ooh, I need to learn which way to go. We have these birds on pages every so often, and they're actually little quizzes. So the quiz question is, Courtney.
I'm ready.
We have hundreds of species of bees. How do most of them live? You've got 3 choices to pick from.
Oh, I'm ready.
Option 1 is all alone. Option 2 is in colonies of 200. Option 3 is in colonies of 50,000. Which do you think bees live in mostly?
Well, I read Bruno the Beekeeper, who talked about this, but I read that book many weeks ago. But I'm going to say C. They live in really big colonies.
In colonies of 50,000?
Yeah, because 200 seems like not enough.
Doesn't seem like enough.
50,000 seems like a lot, but bees are really small. And I'm assuming this includes like the larvae, so like the baby bees. So I'm going to go with that. That's my final answer.
All right. So most bees do not live in colonies. I know. They live completely alone. The honeybee with its big colonies is an exception.
See, I was right about the bees that I was thinking about.
You were.
I was thinking about honeybees specifically.
Yeah.
But again, there are different types of bees. There's like bees and
I had no idea. I just kind of assumed most of them live all together. So it's a very interesting book. You'll learn lots.
It sounds like a super interesting book. But speaking of interesting books, I have this book, which is Bones, an inside look at the animal kingdom. And it's by Jules Howard, and the illustrations are by Chervelle Fryer. And this book, as you can see on the cover, there's a tiger, and then up top are the bones for the tiger.
That's really an interesting book.
Has such amazing illustrations that I don't even want to show you them actually, because I want you to check this book out. So on the pages, it goes through, like, this page is about claws. And so it'll show you what it looks like, you know, with the fur and stuff like that. And then it'll show you the bones. So it talks about different animals. There's some whales in here.
You know, whales have very interesting bones.
Oh, yeah.
The flippers. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, especially because they're so big. Like sperm whales are the biggest whales. And or some of the biggest whales. I always get sperm whales and blue whales confused as to who is bigger. But anyways, they're ginormous. You know, to use a super technical term with you, it's super technical. And, you know, it's so puzzling to think, like, is that all bone underneath there? Like, how much of that is that blubber that, you know, keeps them warm in the cold waters? But yeah, it'll talk about, you know, there's antelopes, there's flying foxes, flying dragon, owls. It just has kangaroos. It just has all different sorts of animals. And again, I don't want to show you the pictures because I really want you to check this book out. So 10 out of 10 recommend. And it gives you lots of facts too, as well. So it's not just pictures. So like for the sperm whale page, it's telling you like why the skull is the way it is, why these bones are structured the way they're structured to help these animals live and thrive in the type of environments that they live in. So obviously whales are underwater and they have to be able to swim. So what type of bone structure do they have that makes it easier for them to do what they need to do?
That sounds really neat. So, I don't know a whole lot about bones.
I don't either.
So that'd be a good one for me to check.
I know I have bones.
Yes.
And I know that mammals have a vertebrate, so they have a backbone. So whales, because they're mammals, they have to have a spine or a backbone. But not all animals do. And that's about it.
That's interesting. That's interesting stuff.
And you can break them. Bones are breakable.
Oh, you can definitely break them. Knock on wood, I have only ever broken my pinky toe. That's it. I've never had like any major. So
it seems like the easiest bone to break. I feel I have broken more bones than that.
Okay.
Not recently. So
that's good. That's good.
We're good. What do you have next?
So moving along, kind of talking about bones, sort of, because we all know about dinosaur bones and scientists search to find them, and there's lots of great museums where you can see them. Well, so I have a book that is talking about dinosaurs, but it's talking about dinosaurs mostly when they were living. So interesting facts about when they were alive. And this book is actually from the Natural History Museum of London, which is super cool. So these answers come from scientists there. And there's 50 very critical questions about dinosaurs in this book that you can find out. So you'll learn like what dinosaurs are, which is a really great question. But you'll also learn if a T-Rex falls over, how do they get back up? Can they get back up? You'll learn stuff like that. Because they have such short arms. So it's kind of imperative for everybody to read this book and learn a little bit of dino knowledge. And it's funny because when I was first flipping through it, I was like, oh, these illustrations are beautiful, but I wish they would have included some real photos of dinosaurs. And then I remembered that they're all extinct and we don't have real photos. So it is really great that we have these beautiful illustrations to show our dinosaurs since we don't have any real photos.
Yeah, we don't have any real photos. Unfortunately, Jurassic Park, even though those dinosaurs look really real, they are not
Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of things we don't know about dinosaurs.
Oh,
but
there's
does a good job answering some questions.
Well, and our knowledge about dinosaurs has really changed over the years. And it's the most interesting thing I think I've learned about dinosaurs in recent history from listening to podcasts and stuff like that is that the raptors that, we've seen on Jurassic Park aren't really what the raptors that we have bones for look like. Like they're much smaller animals. So it's interesting how things have changed. And I think
it is
like the long neck dinosaurs, there's stuff about that has changed as we've discovered more fossils and all sorts of things.
One of the most interesting things from that book, it talks about whether any dinosaurs survived. So I'm not going to talk about what the answer is, but I do think it's very interesting to kind of think about dinosaurs in that way. So,
for sure. I have another book that's, this whole trend. It's funny butts and freaky beaks and other incredible creature features. It's by Alex Moores and Sean Taylor, and then Sarah Edmonds drew the pictures. So we got, a big booty over here and some freaky beaks
down at the bottom.
Oh yeah, there's frogs. There's a frog jumping out of a frog's mouth. Oh. So as we know, there are a lot of animals in the animal kingdom that are really bizarre looking, and you can't help but wonder why they have those adaptations. So why do these animals, for example, like an anteater, it has a teeny tiny mouth and it can barely move its jaws. So like, how does it eat? Well, it has the bendy straw of a tongue. So its tongue like super long, and that's how it gets the ants, because I don't think having a big mouth would really benefit you when the thing that you're eating is super teeny tiny and can like move really fast.
Yeah.
Like ants can move pretty quickly.
And I don't think there's any way we're catching an ant with our mouths.
I'm not going to. So it talks about different animals that have strange tails. So like seahorses, why do they have strange tails? Or the tiger-tailed seahorse, so a specific type of seahorse. It's so that they can grip onto things so that, when the ocean current is moving, they don't get I doubt they're very heavy animals. And also they use it when they're doing courtship. So when they're trying to find a mate, they use it kind of like to hold hands.
Isn't that cute?
It's very cute. So again, beautiful illustrations. Sorry that we haven't really picked any books that have real pictures, but
one of mine did. I have another one coming up that does.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some beautiful.
None of mine did, but I'm not sorry about it because these illustrations are just amazing. And if you want some real pictures, National Geographic is your place to go for real pictures. So highly suggest looking there if you're curious about what they look like.
Yeah.
What else do you have to share, Emily?
So my last one is also part of a series. It's an animal battles book.
That looks very intense.
Yes, this is the newest installment. It's King Cobra versus Mongoose. So in these books, they pit two animals against each other. Hypothetically, they don't actually make these animals fight, but they kind of give you information about the animal in general, and then they'll give you information on like what skill they have that would make them good in a fight, and kind of like attack moves that they have that might be help for them to win and whatnot. So you find the basic information, you find all of that cool information about their moves. Here's like some mongoose facts right there. And then at the end, they do tell you who they think would win if the two of them battled, which is very interesting. And they give you the reasoning, like what skill they have that they were able to use to win the fight. So they're pretty cool. Again, these are a part of a series, and there's a lot of them. So there's like scorpion versus tarantula, or dingo versus kangaroo. They've got lots of cool like books.
It sounds like they pick like realistic pairings, like they're not picking like a great white shark and a T-Rex, for example.
No, they are realistic.
Cross paths.
Exactly. That is a really good point. They do pick situations that might actually occur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if they have one about orcas and great white sharks.
Ooh, I wonder if they do too.
I a while ago, before I got on this like ocean train, Emily knows very well, because we have been recording a podcast.
Woo!
And because we've been recording this podcast, which I'll talk about in a moment, I have been doing a lot of diving into ocean and marine biology and things like that, and watching a lot of documentaries. And I'm not sure who would win. I would have thought a great white, but orcas are mean, but they're very smart.
So I'm going to let you know right now that they do in fact have that book. So you'll have to.
I have to put it on hold.
Mm-hmm.
I have to put it on hold, and see if they agree with me, because orcas. If I had to I would think that you would put sharks in like Slytherin if you were to put them in Harry Potter and Hogwarts houses.
Yes.
But I think I would put orca whales in Slytherin, because they're very smart and they're very
cunning. You're right. They aren't I don't want to say they're mean, but they know what they're doing when they're trying to kill something. So.
They sure do. But our last book that I'm going to talk about is Why Does My Shadow Follow Me? More Science Questions from Real Kids. And it's by Kira Vermond and Sharu Agua, illustrated. So they drew the pictures. And this book is filled with lots of curious questions. So like, why does my shadow follow me? The world inside us. So questions about your body. What makes us human? Do we all see the same colors?
I think about that a lot.
Birds. How does static make my hair fly? Who would have thought? And so this book is great for Emily, myself, and our dear friend Jill, because we are doing a podcast. It's called Stump the Librarian. Mm-hmm. You can find our episodes on Podbean, or if you go to kdl.org/stump, you can find all the information about our podcast there. But we answer questions like these from viewers like you. So on that link, you can also ask us questions yourself. So, for example, Emily and I just recorded with Jill 2 episodes yesterday. And Emily, what were your questions that you answered yesterday? Do you remember?
I remember one was how to move houses was one. And then what was my second one?
I think your second one was how does science work?
Oh, that's right. Yes. It is such a big question that
it was a huge question.
Yes, my brain couldn't quite grasp onto it. But we did our best trying to answer it. You had a particularly difficult question as well.
Yes. So I had 2 questions as well. And my first question was what makes a mammal? Because whale sharks are sharks, but they give live birth. And so the person who asked the question thought that mammals were the only ones that gave live birth. That's not true. And you'll find out why if you listen to that podcast episode when it comes out. But my hardest question I think I've ever gotten, and we've done 10 episodes recorded, not released, was at what rate is the universe expanding? So the universe is constantly expanding, and this
is also infinite.
It's also infinite. And this person was curious as to what rate, and there is an actual number that scientists have, but explaining how they got that number was extremely difficult. And I watched a couple of videos and read a couple of articles, and I hope I did science justice for that one. But that's all the books that we have for you today. Thank you so much, Emily, for talking about books with me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and as always, you can go to kdl.org and you can put any of these books on hold. They're all going to be our nonfiction books like we talked about. Or if you're just curious about learning some more things, you can go to your local branch and ask your librarians, where is the junior nonfiction section, and find some books there. We've got some amazing books with illustrations and with real photos, if that's more your speed. And of course, check out our podcast. We would love it if you listened and also asked us questions, because we need to film another season and we're running low on questions.
Yeah, and it's so fun answering the questions. It's so much fun.
And we really would like to be stumped. So think of what the hardest question you have for us is, and you can submit it and we'll probably answer it or try to answer it.
We'll try, yeah,
on the podcast. So thank you so much, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.